ever been arrested, Mr. Sullivan? Is not an answer. Did you stop her? Is not an answer. Did you send you any money for the children? Yeah. Is not an answer. Because when did you lose your job, Michael?
Not until...
Is not an answer. And who supports you? Is not an answer. Were you allowed to drive at night? Is not an answer. Why did you give him the $400? Is not an answer, sir. Did you drink any beer that night? Look at me. Is not an answer. Where do you do your banking? Is not an answer. And what about you, Mr. Strauss? Is not an answer. What happened with this story about the malfunctioning brakes? Is not an answer. Did you give him back his $730? Is not an answer. When you were married to Mr. Page, who was supporting your children? Is not an answer.
So,
duh. Why didn't you send them back to Mr. Sanderlin? Is not an answer. What do you do for a living? Well is not an answer. What were you doing with this gun?
well, me and...
Well is not an answer. I would have sold it to them before she took the car, sir, when you missed the first payment. Well is not an answer. Well, why in the world do you think she would pay $80 if you were going to use 600 minutes and she was going to use 200 minutes, Ms. Pancrance? Well is not an answer. At what point did she stop tickling and playing with Jalen and come over and start punching and kicking you?
They were...
Well is not an answer. You sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Pretty sure is not an answer. It was before March 19th.
Sure.
Sure is not an answer. What kind of probation? Is not an answer. Have you ever been incarcerated? Is not an answer. Do you have to be licensed where you live in order to do tattooing? Is not an answer. Did you pay any rent? Is not an... Look at me. I'm sorry. Listen to me! Who do you live with? Is not an answer. Where's the boyfriend? Is not an answer. Was he incarcerated? Is not an answer. How many of them did you go to and apply for work? Is not an answer. Did you have a prescription for that x-ray with you? Is not an answer. Don't you know that that's dangerous, madam? Is not an answer. Who went over with you to the party? Is not an answer. Did you go to school that day? Is not an answer. Where was Melanie?
She wasn't
is not an answer. Did you work? Is not an answer. And you were planning on using it?
Eventually.
Is not an answer. Paid in check or cash? Is not an answer. Where are the suits now? Do you have them?
Actually, I have...
Actually, it's not an answer. You say some bad things about him.
Well, it was...
Well is not an answer. And had you paid November's rent? Is not an answer. Who was driving? Is not an answer. Did your father have other guns in the house? Is not an answer. Did you tell her that? Is not an answer.
Pretty much.
How long have you been detailing cars? Is not an answer. Well, who supports you? Is not an answer. You willing to take a drug test? Is not an answer. How come?
During...
Is not an answer.
Excuse me?
Is not an answer. How can you stand there and tell me that it wasn't a loan? Is not an answer. Who put them in? Is not an answer. Are you working? Is not an answer. How much child support have you paid for your children in the last 2 years? Is not an answer. So why did you wait to sue her, sir? Is not an answer. Have you ever been arrested for anything else?
I have.
Is not an answer. Why is it that you don't have a checking account, Mr. Krause? Is not an answer. What didn't you say to her?
I don't know what I didn't say.
What was the conversation about? Is not an answer. From what money? Is not an answer. Is it the first time you were arrested at Robinson May?
Yes, it was.
Is not an answer. Where'd you get this check? Is not an answer. Did she complain to you about that? Is not an answer. Is that right?
Yes.
Is not an answer. Tell me how that happened, Nathan.
Michael.
Is not an answer. Where'd you get the liquor from? Is not an answer. Where did you consume it? Is not an answer. And is your friend paying you in cash or check? Is not an answer. And how much has your friend paid you in cash in the 3 weeks that you've been working for him? Is not an answer. What are the names of the other 3 people that were there? Is not an answer. Is that something that Matt just forgot to tell me? Is not an answer. And how did your girlfriend get there? Is not an answer. How many times have you been arrested? Is not an answer. You go to school? Is not an answer. You didn't ask your father to bail you out? Is not an answer. Were you working? Is not an answer. Who do you live with? Is not an answer. So now you're going to tell me why you took the truck.
Okay.
Is not an answer. Did you do that?
Your Honor.
Come on, is not an answer. You're standing there, you look like an idiot.
I would say $10,000.
Are you on the books of the company? Is not an answer. When's the last time you filed tax return? Is not an answer. Have any other warrants outstanding when you were arrested? Is not an answer. How did you get here today? Is not an answer. Your mother.